Okay, so I'm going to recap where we finished off on Friday, and it really gets much easier. I know it took a long time to start, but they don't take that long now. Okay, so if you remember before, we had an airplane on number 2 that was leaving the airport, and it was represented by this line that is 120. We have wind that was coming southeast direction, I think. Yeah. So it represented 35, which moved the airplane. So the airplane is now this yellow line. Okay, 98. And by doing that, every time we formed a triangle. Okay. So my first question every time was, well, what's the speed of the airplane? Well, originally, remember, it was 120, and we used the information from the triangle. We did law of cosine and found the yellow line, or the dashed line in this case. I just redrew the triangle, remember? So the airplane was heading at a speed of 98 degrees. Okay, so our next question then, though, is what is the heading of the airplane? Okay, well, if you think about it for just a second, remember, our heading is always from due north. That way, when you say, hey, I'm traveling 10 degrees from which direction? So it's always from due north. Well, I know common sense-wise, my answer is going to be between two numbers. If I'm saying from north, well, if I get to east, I'm at 90, and if I get all the way to the south, I'm at 180 degrees. So now my answer is my plane is traveling between 90 and 180, right? And it's actually this yellow line is the plane. So what you'll have to do every time first is find the angle. We did this Friday, but it's just been a while. So find this angle right here. In other words, on this triangle that I've moved down, because I can kind of see it better, we're going to find that angle. Right, and we're still going to use law of cosine. We started with it, we're going to finish with it. Put your phones away and pay attention. Okay, so we're still going to finish with law of cosine. All right, so now then, I'm going to use this formula. I always start with the side, so 35 squared, which is the one across from the angle I'm missing. Then you use the two other sides. It will always be the original airplane speed and then the new airplane speed that you found. And then your formula. And cosine of y. This time I don't know it. And I refreshed your memory on Friday how to solve this problem. But all you're going to do is, remember, you're going to take the 35, which is this number right here, is 35 squared, subtract 120 squared, and subtract 98.41 squared. So in your calculator, if you remember correctly, you're going to do 35 squared minus 120 squared minus 98.41 squared. Remember, and the reason, and hit enter. She moved those two over. Guys, if you don't know how come, or if you've forgotten, the goal is to solve for y. I want y all by itself, which means I have to get rid of all of these. Well, order of operations says these are addition and subtraction. So to get rid of addition, we're going to subtract. So I moved the 120 and the 98 over, and I got this answer. Now all that's technically left are these three numbers, and they're multiplied. So you divide. You're going to divide by your -2. Okay, you're going to divide by 120 and divide by your 98.41 and hit enter. And then you get this decimal, which is not your answer. That's not the angle. Remember, you take the inverse cosine to find y. So you do inverse cosine of your answer. And so, to be sure your calculator's in degrees. Mine's in radians, I'm sorry. Check your calculator, be sure it's in degrees. So inverse cosine of your answer gives you 14.56. So your angle is 14.56 degrees. Now, here's the thing, okay? That does not mean your airplane is headed at 14 degrees, right? If our airplane was headed at 14 degrees, it would be way up here, because this is considered 0, so this is like 14 degrees. Well, that's not it. Our airplane's way down here. It's the highlighted line. So I know then I'm trying to get from here all the way to the highlighted line. Okay? So let's do the math to get all the way there. I know from north to east is 90, okay? Then so from here to here is 90. I'm gonna travel this much more. How much is this? Remember, when I tell you this is a southeast direction, it bisects that angle. So how much is this little piece right here? 45, excellent, okay? So plus 45 more. And then you just found the shaded region, which was 14.56. So plus 14.56 more. Okay, so add those three together, and that's your actual heading of your airplane. That's the direction that that yellow line is going. It was at 120, that line, and it moved over. It was pushed down a little. So what's the answer? I don't. So 149.56. Okay, now read number 3. Don't forget your degree mark on your answer. So our plane is traveling 98 miles an hour and a heading, in other words, in the direction of 149 degrees. Okay, right, read number 3. Try to draw the picture. I think that's the hardest part, really. And every picture is a tiny bit different, is the other problem. Draw the picture, put your phones away, draw the picture. All right, this time the boat is sailing 80 knots in a southwest direction. Okay, so southwest, this would be south and west, so it's this way. Right? Then it says, I'm going to go ahead and list the length of the boat. So that's 80. It's trying to travel this way, and the current measuring 20 knots is flowing in a northwest direction. So it's flowing northwest. So put your compass rose perfect, right? So that your boat, in this case, lands right at the origin. And now we're going to account for the current, okay? And it's northwest. Well, this is north and this is west. So what's happening? In other words, look, if I've got a boat that's traveling along this line and the wind comes in through a northwest direction, the wind is going to come in through here and it's going to take that boat and it's going to push it up a little bit, right? It's going to move the line that's there, it's going to move it this way. Right? Because here's my northwest, correct? And what's the wind? The current is 20, so this is 20. And it's hard to see, but that's a 20. So now it's the path of the new boat. It's always going to create a what? What shape I've been creating every time?
Triangle.
Triangle. So instead of traveling here to 80 and landing here, the wind is pushing it up, so this is your new triangle. I'm sorry, this is your new path of your boat. And that's the one we're looking for. We're looking for that dashed line. Okay? Now, this is a little different. If you want to come over here and kind of sketch the triangle, or if you like it the way it is, that's up to you. But this is your triangle. I know this is 80, I know this is 20. What is this angle right here? Do y'all know? Mathematically, or what you know about it. If I'm slicing this compass rose with 45 and this one in 45 together, what are they going to make? What are they going to make together? I heard it, 90. So this is actually, the angle here is 90. If you want to write it right here, you can. They're not always 45. The angle sometimes is 90, 45, and I think the other one is 135. Those are the 3 different options. Did y'all see where I got 45 from? Because this section is 45 and that's 45. Okay, so now then, you're going to find this missing. And you can use the same thing. The 90 is across from it. So you always start with the side. So x squared equals, you always start log cosine with the side. and the x and the 90 match. So you can do 20 squared plus 80 squared minus 2 times 20 times 80, and then cosine of your 90 degrees. Always start with the side. Okay, now when you get your answer, I'll give you another second, but don't forget to take the square root. So what are you gonna get? 82.66. Good. Miles per hour. Okay, so I'm gonna erase my x on my triangle. I'm gonna put the speed of my boat now, which is 82.46. The last question is the easiest, I think. I'm looking for the heading. Okay, and I can't find the heading until I find that missing angle. I need to know this measure right here. I need to know the angle, or in other words, on this triangle I redrew, I want this one. Okay, remember when we use law of cosines, we always start with the side. So the angle matches which side? The 20. And then you're gonna put the other two legs in, the two that touch the angle. So it'd be the one you already had, the 80, and the one you just found. Okay, so find y for me. Find y. Okay, remember again, you're gonna do 20 squared minus 80 squared minus 82 squared. Hit enter. Divided by -2, divided by 80, divided by 82, hit enter. And then take the inverse. So your angle y, the yellow is gonna be 14.04 degrees. Now, the next part is where every single problem is a little different, so you have to kind of use problem solving for. Okay, so look up here so that maybe you can figure out the angle. All right, now think about this for a second, okay? I'm trying to find out the new heading of the plane, which is the dashed line. My airplane was heading on this solid line right here, and now it's traveling on this dashed line. So I'm trying to get from due north, going with the heading, from due north all the way to here. Okay, well I know that from here to here is 180, so I'm at least 180 degrees. That puts me at this spot. Now I'm going to travel this much more. How much is that? Just this much. I'm cutting this solid original boat is cutting it in half. So 45. And plus the shaded region more, which we found is 14. Add all three of those together. You'll see where I got that? If you didn't see, watch. I'll say it again. Look, I'm traveling. I'll use another color. I'm traveling 90. Now I'm at 180. I'm going to add 45 more, and then I'm going to add the yellow more. So that will be 180 plus 45, 180 plus 45 more plus the yellow. Do y'all see it now? All right, so what's your heading of the airplane actually going to be? 200 and what? So it's at 239.04 or so, or 0.3. As long as you have the whole number right, the rest of estimating is fine. Good. Okay, we'll do another one then. All right, go to number 4. Hang on. Yeah. All right, try 4. I'd like for you to try to set up the problem originally. See how you do that. I'll give you a second. You're not gonna learn to do it if you don't try it. Alright, so let's try the problem. You've got an airplane that has a velocity of 400 in a southwest direction, okay? So we're gonna go southwest with it. Okay, so here's southwest, this is my airplane, and it has a velocity of 400. In other words, that length is 400. Now I'm gonna have to count, be careful, the wind is blowing from the west, not to the west, from the west. So here's your new compass rose, very neatly, your boat should land right at the origin. So here's my boat, and if my wind is blowing from the west, it's actually gonna push my boat down this way, right? Okay, so here's my original boat, the wind's from the west, so it's this way. So if you're from the west, which direction are you actually blowing? East, okay? 50 miles per hour. So it's this that's 50. And every time we form a what? A triangle. So instead of your boat being here, it's going to be pushed over. So this is the new path of your boat. Now this time the angle was easy. You're always going to have to mathematically come up with one angle. So what is the angle that we have here? It's a 45. I just cut it in half. It isn't always 45, okay, but this one it is.
And it's 45 because of the way the wind is blowing, it's actually, like, let's say it's on the plane that's just going directly east, not going
It's 45 because the plane was traveling southwest. So because it's traveling southwest, it bisected this one.
Okay.
Everyone will be a little different. That's why you draw the picture.
Okay.
Okay, so your first question is to find the dashed line length, and there's your triangle. So remember, I'm looking for this side, and your problem always, well, cosine always starts with the side. So then you're gonna start with your x, the side you're looking for. So x squared equals the two sides that surround the other triangle. So 400 squared plus 50 squared minus 2 times those two numbers. And then cosine of the angle that matched the side. Now because x is over here all by itself, all you gotta do is type this into the calculator. So type this into the calculator and take the square root of the answer. What does x equal, guys? 366 point what? 35 miles per hour. Be sure your calculator's in degrees. So like I've done every time, I'm gonna erase my x, okay, and I'm gonna put my answer, 366 there. Okay, what have we found? We need the heading. In other words, what angle is this dashed line at? Well, in order to find it every time, guys, you're going to need to find this measure, this angle measure. Right? Which is easy. So find the measure. Log cosine always starts with the side. So across from this missing angle is what number? Be careful. What am I going to start with? The 50. So 50 squared equals, and then the two that surround it, the 400 and the one you just found. Cosine of y. Okay, again, mathematically, you're trying to find y. And all this stuff is on the same side in the way. So you're gonna move over the 400. So 50 squared minus 400 squared minus 366 squared, and you hit enter. Now then, this is all multiplication, so to undo it, you're gonna divide. Divide by -2, divide by 400, divide by 366, hit enter. And when you get it, you're gonna take the inverse of the answer. So angle Y should have been 5.54 degrees. Angle Y, now that's not the answer, that's just a highlighted angle. My boat, if it's traveling right here, this is not 5 degrees, guys. If this is a 360-degree figure here, 5 degrees is way up there. 5 doesn't make sense, okay? So what you're gonna have to do then is take a look at the picture and mathematically calculate it. So if I was here, I'm trying to get all the way to the dashed line. That's the boat right now. Not the solid, that was the old position. Okay, so let's try to do the math here. I would go 90 plus 180. I know that for a fact, I'm at 180. Now we have to decide what we know. Okay, now everybody look up here, because if you're not looking, you won't understand what I'm talking about. Is the area I'm shading in green right now, is this 45? No. Okay, what's 45? That solid line right here, this solid line, it cut this in half. This whole thing is 45. Right? Okay, so understanding that, right, so what I'm gonna need to do is I'm gonna travel to 180, because that part I know. I'm here, I'm going from here to here, that part I know. If I can travel all the way to this line, that's 45 more, but I went just a little too far. How much farther do I need to back up? Yep, I need to back up a little, back up the shaded region, which is 5, so minus 5.54. That's one way to find it. There's other ways. Put your phones away, please. I'm gonna take them out. Okay? Yeah, now, so the answer then for that is 200, so you're traveling at 219.46 degrees. In other words, that's this direction right here. I knew it had to be more than 180 and less than 270. All right, number 5.